Let's go.
All right, this is the in-cab portion of the inspection. Once I've used 3 points of contact to get into the cab, I'm going to check my seat belt and make sure that it's properly mounted, secured, that it's not worn, torn, or frayed, and that it latches. Okay, that it unlatches properly. Okay. I'm going to check my windshield. I'm going to make sure that it's properly mounted, secured. I've got no cracks in it that are any larger than 6 inches. And it's clean, clear, which it's not, but it's clean, clear, and I've got no illegal stickers on it. Okay? I'll check my mirrors, make sure that they're also clean and clear and that they're properly adjusted to me. Alright. I am ready to perform a safe start. So in a safe start, I'm going to make sure that it's in neutral. I'm going to push the clutch all the way to the floor. I'm going to cover the brake. I'm going to turn it to the on position. When I do, I'm looking for my gauges to sweep and then return back before I start the engine. That's to ensure that my glow plugs are warmed up. I've got a leak. Okay. When I start the engine, I'm looking up here to see if my ABS light comes on and goes back off again. There's an AB light indicator up here for my ABS brakes. I'm looking for that to come on briefly and then go off again. If it stays on, I've got a problem with my anti-lock braking system. See my ABS light? Went on, came on and went off again. My gauges have swept. Okay? As my air is charging up to the operating level between 120 to 140 psi, I'm looking at my other gauges. I'm looking at my water temperature gauge, and I'm ensuring that it's rising between 17 and 500. 170 degrees and 500 degrees. I'm looking at my oil pressure, make sure that it's rising to the proper level. Okay? I want to ensure that I've got no less than 1/8 of a tank of DEF. Checking my volts on my voltmeter to make sure that I've got between 12 and 14 volts. I'm at 14.2. Some other things I'm going to check. I'm going to check my lights. So I'm going to turn on my headlights, which also activates my marker lights. I'm going to check my high beams. Looking at the indicator. I'm going to check my left turn signal. I'm going to check my right turn signal. And I'm going to check my four-way flashers. I'm going to check my defroster and make sure that I have defrost. So I'm going to put on defrost, turn the heat, turn the fan up, and I'm going to feel up here, make sure that my defroster's working. I'm going to do the same thing with my heater. On my heater, I'm going to check down here and make sure that my heater is properly working. Check my windshield wiper, make sure that I've got good contact between my wipers and the glass. Make sure that they're operational, and I'm going to make sure that I've got washer flow. And finally, I'm going to check my city horn, and I'm going to check my country horn, make sure they're operational. Okay. Now I'm going to set up to do my labs test. And to set up to do my labs, I have to ensure that I start my labs with my pressure between 120 and 140 psi. Now what's going to happen when I disengage my buttons is that the needles are going to drop, but they're not going to drop below 100 psi. So I've got to trick the system into thinking that I don't have enough air, so that my governor cut-on is at 100. We'll cut the compressor back on and charge my system back to 120 to 140 operating point. So, pushing these buttons. Okay. And I'm going to fan down a couple times on my brake to drop my level below 100, so my governor kicks the air compressor back on. Okay, I've dropped down below 100. Now my system will recharge back to the operating level of 120 to 140 psi. I've got a leak somewhere because one of my tanks is not charging all the way up. But at this point,
does it not sneeze when it's ready?
It's supposed to. When the governor,
yeah,
when the governor kicks on or kicks off, you can hear it.
Right.
But I can hear a leak.
That's.
We're going to assume, we're under the assumption that our air tanks have risen to the proper operating level between 120 and 140 psi. So I'm going to begin the labs portion of my in-cab inspection. I'm going to go ahead and shut the engine off, and I'm going to turn the key back to the on position so that I've got dash functions. Now, I'm going to do the leaks portion of my labs inspection. I'm going to hold down my service brake for 1 minute and ensure that I lose no more than 4 psi of pressure during that 1 minute. Now, the pressure is going to drop a little bit when I first step on the pedal. Once it settles, Mr. Examiner, will you please time me? Okay, my needles have settled. Mr. Examiner, will you please time me for 1 minute? And the examiner will tell you begin. When you're doing this portion of the test, don't move your leg. You don't have to muscle it all the way to the floor so that by 30 seconds your leg is quivering. You don't have to do that. Maintain solid pressure. Watch those gauges. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for you to watch those gauges to make sure that you don't lose pressure. See, they're holding pretty steady. So the examiner, after the 60 seconds, would tell you 1 minute has elapsed. At that time, and only after he tells you to do so, go ahead and release service brake. Tell the examiner, I held pressure on my service brake for 1 minute and I lost no more than 4 psi of pressure in that time. My leaks portion has passed. Now I will conduct an alarms test. I will fan the brake until my pressures drop down at or before 55 psi. My audible and visual alarm should come on, indicating that I've got low pressure. The alarms came on at or before 55 psi. I have the truck has passed the alarms portion of the test. On a side note, after the alarms kick on, go ahead and pump it a couple extra times just to be sure it's down there. I have seen students pump it down, the alarms kick on, they let go, all of a sudden the needles kick up just a hair enough to turn those alarms off. You want to make sure that those alarms stay on. Now I'll conduct the buttons portion of my labs inspection. I will continue to fan my service brake until the buttons pop out around 40 psi. If those buttons pop out, great. If they creep out, you need to watch them close, because they may be just creeping out real slowly. Either way, don't touch the buttons. Let them do their thing. If around 40 psi they haven't done anything by then, continue pumping all the way down till you have no air left in the system. Then you can inform the examiner, my buttons portion has failed. Or if they come out at that point, say, my buttons test has passed. Okay? So I will continue to fan my service brake until my buttons pop out. The buttons portion of my labs test has passed. My buttons popped out around 40 psi. This concludes my labs portion of my in-cab test. Next, I'll perform my brakes test. I will start the engine, let the air charge back up to its operating level. At that time, I'll get out, I'll remove the chalk from the wheel, and I will check both the parking brakes and the service brake.
Contact. Remember that part right there, that 3 points contact. When you get out, you got to do that 3 points contact shit. If you don't, it's automatic fail. You know what I mean? He said that out there, but he didn't do it. He didn't say nothing. He didn't remind y'all about that. Can't go out. Just skippity-doo. Can't do that.
My chalk is pretty jammed into that wheel, so I've got to creep forward. Anytime you're operating this truck, I don't care if it's just to do this portion of the test, you need to have your seatbelts on. While the air system is charging, I'm going to explain how it's going to work. To check your parking brake, your emergency brake, whatever you want to call it, to check this brake system, you're going to tug on the trailer first, and then you're going to tug on the tractor. The way to check the trailer is you disengage the parking brake on your tractor, but you leave your trailer engaged. That way the parking brake, spring brake, emergency brake, whatever you want to call it, is locked up on the trailer. It's not going to budge. To check the spring brakes on your tractor, you'll do the opposite. You'll release your trailer spring brake, but you'll keep your tractor spring brake or parking brake, emergency brake engaged, and you'll just pull it a little bit. You'll feel it tug. All right. So we're at operating level. I'm going to go ahead and inch forward so I can take the shock block out. Okay. Spring brakes on the trailer first. So I'm going to go ahead and push in the tractor, and I'm going to tug on that trailer and make sure that that my spring brakes are holding. Ready? All right. That lets me know that spring brakes are holding for the trailer. Pull out the tractor, release the trailer. Now I'm checking to see if the spring brakes are holding on my tractor. Again, and they are holding. The last test that I would do is I'll check my service brakes. What I would do, I'm just going to talk through it because there's just too much activity out here right now to actually perform it. Check my service brakes. I will release my spring brakes. I will drive forward at 5 miles an hour. I will stab my service brake, lightly holding my steering wheel to make sure that it doesn't pull to the left or pull to the right, which would indicate that my brakes are out of adjustment. Okay. After I've concluded that concludes the in-cab portion and the pre-trip inspection.